Hey everyone, and welcome to our cozy story corner. Today we're journeying into a magical land filled with sparkling fairies and ancient trees that hum soft lullabies. So snuggle up, get comfy, and let's travel together to the heart of Whisperwood Forest. In this enchanting forest, where the last rays of sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and pink, lived a tiny fairy named Leora. Now, Leora was a little different from the other fairies. While her friends would zip and zoom through the air, leaving trails of glitter behind them, Leora preferred the quiet comfort of a large, velvety mushroom cap. She was shy. So shy, in fact, that her delicate, shimmering wings would flutter like frightened leaves if anyone so much as glanced in her direction. Her voice was as soft as the rustle of leaves in a gentle breeze, and she often felt like she blended right into the background. But Leora held a secret, a wonderful, magical, truly unbelievable secret. It was a secret she kept tucked away, safe and sound, close to her heart. Leora could perform the most amazing magic, but there was a catch. She could only use it when absolutely no one was watching. Not a single soul. If even a curious squirrel peeked from behind a branch, or a friendly butterfly fluttered a little too close, her magic would simply vanish. It would shrink back inside her like a timid firefly switching off its light. She'd tried once, just once, to show her magic to others. It was at the annual fairy gathering, and everyone was taking turns showing off their skills. One fairy conjured a rainbow, another made flowers sing. Leora decided to try something simple, lighting a lantern. She flew up, took a deep breath, and focused. A tiny spark appeared at her fingertips. But the moment the crowd turned to look at her, the glowing flame fizzled out into a sad little puff of smoke. Her cheeks burned with embarrassment, and she quickly hid behind a large oak tree. So Leora practiced her magic in secret, under the watchful eye of the moon. Late at night, when the forest was wrapped in a blanket of silence and the moonlight draped the leaves in shimmering silver, Leora would tiptoe out. This was her time. She would fly through the quiet woods, her heart full of purpose. With a gentle wave of her hand, she'd paint each flower petal with glistening morning dew, making them sparkle for the bees in the morning. She would find lost little fireflies, their lights blinking with worry, and guide them back to their families with a soft, glowing path. She even flew to the nests of sleeping birds, whispering sweet things into their dreams to ensure they had a peaceful rest. The forest animals adored their mysterious nighttime helper. They would wake up to find their world a little brighter, a little sweeter, but none of them ever knew who was responsible for these small acts of kindness. They simply called their benefactor the Midnight Guardian. One bright, sunny morning, Whisperwood Forest was absolutely buzzing with excitement. You could feel it in the air. The leaves seemed to rustle with anticipation, and the squirrels chattered more than usual. The Grand Blossom Festival was coming. This was the most important day of the year, the one day when the ancient, legendary moonflower was set to bloom. This flower was said to hold all the magic and luck of the forest for the coming year. Fairies flew from every corner of Whisperwood, their wings a kaleidoscope of colors, all gathering at the special clearing where the moonflower grew. But as they arrived, a collective gasp swept through the crowd. The moonflower, which was supposed to be open and radiant, was still tightly closed. Its silvery petals were curled up like a sleeping star. It had never, ever failed to bloom for the festival before. A worried silence fell over the clearing. "Without the moonflower, the festival can't begin," murmured Elder Sagewing, the oldest and wisest fairy in Whisperwood. His long silver beard trailed all the way down his robe, and his face was etched with concern. "Its bloom brings harmony to our forest." The other fairies started fluttering about in worried circles, their happy chatter replaced by anxious whispers. What could be wrong? Had they done something to upset the ancient plant? Leora watched it all from her usual spot, hidden quietly behind a large green fern. Her heart sank down to her tiny fairy toes. She knew what to do. The moonflower just needed a little nudge, a gentle, loving touch of magic to help it awaken. But she also knew, with a familiar ache in her chest, that she could only do it if no one was watching. And right now, every single fairy in Whisperwood was staring right at the flower. That night, the forest was aglow. The fairies had lit hundreds of lanterns, hoping their warm, gentle light might encourage the moonflower to open on its own. They gathered again in the clearing, singing songs and sharing stories, trying to keep their spirits up. But the beautiful blossom remained stubbornly closed. Leora's tiny hands trembled. She looked at the worried faces of her friends, at the sad droop of Elder Sagewing's shoulders. She had to try. It was a risk, a huge risk, but she couldn't just stand by and do nothing. She watched and waited, her heart thumping like a scared rabbit's. She waited for the perfect moment. The fairies began to sing a loud celebratory anthem, their voices rising to the starry sky. As the music swelled, everyone's eyes turned upward, watching the moon and the stars, lost in the song. This was her chance. As quiet as a shadow, she slipped silently through the crowd. Her small size and shy nature made her almost invisible in the soft moonlight. She landed right in front of the giant moonflower. Her heart was beating so fast, she thought everyone would hear it. She took a deep breath. No one was looking. Not a single eye was on her. She lifted her glowing hands, her fingers tingling with a familiar warmth. A soft, gentle light, like liquid starlight, flowed from her fingertips and onto the base of the flower. The moonflower shimmered. It seemed to sigh, a soft, magical sound that only Leora could hear. And then, slowly, gracefully, it began to unfurl its magnificent, silvery petals. Just at that moment, Elder Sagewing happened to turn his head. His eyes widened. He saw the flower blooming, but before he could see who was causing the magic, Leora had already darted back into the shadows, her heart racing. A massive cheer erupted across the clearing as the moonflower bloomed wide, shining like a giant moonlit jewel and bathing the entire forest in its ethereal glow. The festival could begin. Elder Sagewing smiled, a knowing, gentle smile. He looked out at the happy dancing fairies and then toward the shadows where Leora was hiding. Whisperwood has a secret guardian, he said, his voice full of warmth and gratitude. Someone gentle and very, very brave. Hidden behind her fern, Leora blushed a deep shade of pink. She didn't need the applause or the praise. Seeing the joy on everyone's faces, knowing the forest was safe and blooming, was all the reward she needed. She was happy knowing that even the shyest fairy, the one nobody ever noticed, could be the one to make the biggest magic happen. And from that day on, Whisperwood Forest was just a little brighter, a little more magical each night. All thanks to the shy fairy of Whisperwood, the guardian that no one ever saw. Thank you for joining me on this magical adventure. Remember to subscribe for more wonderful stories. Until next time, sleep well and dream big.